Wow! What's happening, everybody? It's your yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We're back. I have something extraordinary for you today. Well, listen, unless you're at work and you can't stop, wherever you are, I'm asking. Family, I'm asking you. Get you some pen, paper, notebook, Crayolas, highlighters, a thesaurus. Get everything you need. This is going to be one of the most powerful episodes we've ever done. Listen, I can't even explain to you whatever you are. Listen, I don't care if you in the south of France, South America, South London, South United States, or as some people say, Southern Alabama. I don't care where you are at this point. If you can, please pull over. Stop what you're doing. Give us the next few minutes because my guest, my friend, my boy is going to drop knowledge like you've never heard before. It is going to be exquisite. Now, you guys know I have to do this. So, shout out to everybody, wherever you're calling in from, wherever you're listening in from. It's Monday. I know it's the Droopy Mondays, but today you have a treat. Listen, my friend Gary's online with us. He's an international speaker, writer, professional member of the Association of Sports Psychology. Listen, he's tapped into the NFL, the NBA, MLB, NHL, just yeah, all of that. He's even talked to the FBI. I mean, he's talking to everybody because today we're going to be talking about the elite mindset. Not for listen, and let me just slow down for a second. If you've always wanted to have that next level mindset. If you ever wanted to sit in the seat of power and have a thought process that always constantly help you win, this is it. Gary, my friend, my boy, this is my dog. If you understand who he really is on our podcast today, y'all will shake my hand. Y'all will shake my hand. We are going to do more today than you've ever done before. So I gave y'all enough time to get y'all some pens, notebooks, Crayolas, highlighters, color pencils, color pens. I don't care what you get, but you got to take notes today because this is going to be good. This is going to be extraordinary. Now, we're not going to ask traditional questions. We just going to let us flow. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So, listen, without further ado, I would like to introduce to some of you guys and present to others. Some of you guys have never heard this young man before, all the way from Seattle. My man, Gary Chupik. What's up, Gary?
Hey, what is up, my man? That's a quite an introduction. That's going to be hard to live up to.
Listen, you have it. You got it all. I already know. I already know. So what's going on, man? How is the Northwest? How is it cold? Is it hot?
It is unusually sunny here. It's typically pretty miserable, but we are having a fantastic summer. No humidity, no bugs, no wind, and 78 every day. So it's pretty nice.
Okay, so now you're rubbing it in. So now you're rubbing it in. So listen, Gary, you have talked to some of the greatest athletes, some of the greatest leaders, some of the greatest spiritual leaders, some of the greatest people that nobody have never heard of before. Man, well, first, before we get into that, talk to us about you. Who are you? Or as to say, who's you?
Who is you? My name is Gary Chupik from Seattle, Washington. I unlock potential in people and in professional athletes, and more and more working with the business crowd, which I never expected to do. But yeah,
Mhm.
my job is to unlock people. I think every single person has more levels in them, so they have these hidden reservoirs of performance deep within them that need to be brought out. And if I can like do a little bit of digging and I can work hard enough and we can work together, I can unlock levels of performance that you didn't think that you had. So I have the privilege of working with professional teams, athletes, and more in the business world, which is shocking to me because, again, that's a little bit of a surprise to me. But what it takes to be a professional athlete and the kind of mindset that's necessary to perform at the highest levels, they're so similar to running a business and what it takes to be a successful business person. So I think there's a lot of commonality, but you know that the your mindset is like the thermostat of your home. It controls the temperature in every room. And I think in the same way, when you get your mind right, it affects everything, every room in your life, every domain in your life. It affects everything. So it's not about necessarily what to think, although that is really important. That's what I do. But man, if we can just like get the mind right, what are you capable of doing?
Yeah, that part. What are you capable of? I mean, just what could that be? So, a lot of times people will see us and they'll see the platform and they'll say, we are just, oh my God, y'all are untouchable. But you are very laid back, calming, easy to speak to, all of those things. So, how did you get to this power position? Is there something that happened in your story or in your past? So, how did you get to this point to be like, bam, I'm going to start unlocking people's greatest thought process, their mindsets? How did you get to that space?
Well, I grew up in Saskatchewan, Canada, which is a really cold region of the country. And so I used to deliver the newspaper when I was a kid, and it was so cold that my eyelashes would freeze together, and I had to literally pull the ice off my eyelashes. So I learned a little bit
Wow.
of mental toughness at a young age, but I don't know. It's like when I was a really young man, I had this youth pastor in my life. I was
Mhm.
13 years old, and he said, Gary and Todd and Shannon and Phil, I'm going to put you in a room. So he called us to this room after school one day. We were in our early teens, and he said, you guys are going to plan the junior high retreat this year. And we all looked at him like he was crazy because we didn't know how to
Right.
plan a retreat. But we did know that we needed candy and that we needed counselors, camp counselors.
Okay.
We did know that we had church services, so we would need to find a speaker. And so at an early age, we got thrown into leadership before we were ever ready for it. And I think when you're that young, you're like a sponge. And so you learn all types of skills and abilities and attitudes to have about leadership. As you get older, the stakes are higher, and maybe you have to know a little bit more about leading. But when you're 13, you have no clue what you're doing. You're just a sponge. And so I had the privilege of having a youth pastor that changed my life and that who believed in me. And there were four letters that he used. Now looking back, there were four letters of the alphabet that I think are the most important four letters ever, which is ICNU. This is what I see in you. And so
This
when
is
we
what
as
I see.
leaders speak prophetically into younger people and we say, this is what I see in you, it leaves an impression. Even to this day, I still remember what my youth pastor said. And he said, Gary, here's what I see in you. I see a leader. And I didn't see it at the time. And I would say that for most of my life, I was a reluctant leader. And
Mhm.
up until my mid 40s, I kind of just was like, okay, I'll lead, you know. But here's the thing, when we self lead, then leadership finds us. When we show character and integrity and discipline and
Yes.
optimism, then leadership finds us. In other words, people invite us into leadership opportunities, not because we think we're great and not because we think we're wonderful. It's because people see in us that leadership. And so that's kind of how I found leadership for the last 30 years. And for me, it was pretty shocking because in 2017, I had a little bit of a burnout. So I had planted a
Mm.
church as an ordained pastor for 28 years. I had planted a church
Yeah.
right in Seattle, and I did it for a decade. But I was leading at the local, regional, and national level, and I just ran out of gas. I said yes to too many things, and I mismanaged myself. I mismanaged
Ah.
my energy, and so I had
Mm-hmm.
this burnout where I didn't feel like I could do very much. And then a friend of mine said, "Well, Gary, have you ever read the book It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad?" And I was like, I don't even know who Trevor is. I'm in this
Right.
dark, exhausted time of my life. He said, you should read this book. I was like, all right. And I read it and it was about mindset. And Trevor
Ah.
Moawad at the time, he was the peak of at the Mount Everest, right? Like peak of Mount Everest. And he was on ESPN, he was on TV shows, he was charging, five figures for speeches, and someone had set us up, this guy, Trevor Moawad, on a blind date. Well, I found
Hmm.
out that he was Russell Wilson's mental performance coach. And so I was like,
Oh,
that
okay.
that's pretty cool. Quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks at the time. So I met him on a blind date on a Zoom call, and he said, "Hey, you want to meet again next week?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, I would die and go to heaven." By this time, I had put in about 1,000 hours into sports psych because I knew the
Mhm.
language of counseling and knew the language of ministry so well.
Right.
But I needed another operating system. I needed another computer language to help me
Yes.
out of the funk that I was in. And sports psychology was what I needed. And so Trevor Moad said to me, he goes, "Hey Gary, you want to meet again next month?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like I'm a kid in a candy shop. This is like a dream come
Right.
true." And he said,
That's right.
"And the next time we meet, I want you to bring together or put together a process or a system that you would help a professional athlete play at their highest level from a mental standpoint." And so I did. And so I put it together. I brought it to him and he looked at it and he hired me on the spot. And I hadn't even thought about him hiring me. It was just like I couldn't believe it. So I worked for their company for a couple of years and then I went out on my own in 2019 and have just been teaching leadership and mental performance ever since.
Something I think people may have missed as you began to articulate your gradual movement to your own space. And that was when you got into your unfortunate season, you say, okay, I'm burned out. I'm preaching, I'm teaching, I'm mentoring, I'm call all of this. And you, like you said, you mismanaged. But I think something people missed. Not only did you read something to fuel you or to pour back into you,
Mhm.
but then also you began to look, I don't want to say outside, but kind of shift a tad bit, still doing what you're doing, but shifted a tad bit to still stay within your purpose.
Mhm.
And now you have the purpose. I'm still leading, I'm still guiding, I'm still mentoring, I'm still doing all the same stuff I'm doing. I'm still teaching and preaching and all of that stuff. But also now I am doing it also in this arena or these arenas with individuals and so on and so forth. And I think people miss that slight tweak, that slight shift. And I think you, as being a praying man, I think you heard God's call, not just for pastoring in four walls, but also how now do I have these individuals continue to compete at the highest level? Am I correct in kind of shifting into that?
Yeah, you are. Actually, there was a very intimate moment that I had with God that opened my
Oh,
eyes. And so I
oh,
was in that dark time of my life, and I remember
yes.
in a blustery, rainy Seattle day, I was looking out my back window, and there's a little bit of a forest behind me, and I'm looking out my back window, and I just kept on saying, "God, I'll do whatever you want me to do. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" So, and because I
That's
had given my
dangerous.
life to ministry, and for me,
Yes,
it's
sir.
always been about obedience. I never craved
Yes.
being on stage. I never craved.
Oh, wait, stop. Hold on, stop, Gary. You gotta stop. Bing. It was always about obedience. I'm sorry, I had to ring the bell on that one. It was always about obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Gary.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, it
Go
was
ahead.
very
You get
true.
me excited.
No, that's how it always was for me. I didn't know any other way other than to think of my walk with God as an obedient walk. So looking out the window and I'm reading the story about Jesus and blind Bartimaeus. And
Ah.
and so
Mhm.
I'm just remember the context is God, what do you want me to do? I'm tugging on my father's coat, right? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? 1,000 times a day. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And then I read the story about blind Bartimaeus. And what does Jesus say to blind Bartimaeus? He says, "Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you?"
That's
And
right.
my head exploded in that moment because I
Yeah.
thought, wait a minute, what if I'm waiting for God to tell me what to do? But what if God is waiting for me to answer his question, Gary, what do you want from me? And so I thought to myself, I don't know. I've never thought about this before. I didn't know it mattered what I wanted. And you know what Jesus said to me in that moment through the Holy Spirit was, Gary, at one point you were my servant, but now I call you friend.
Oh, now
And
that's good.
And
That's
now
good.
friends sometimes I'll say, Stanley, where do you want to go eat? And you say, I don't know, Gary, where do you want to go eat? I'm like, Stanley, where do you want to go eat? And you're like, Gary, where
Yeah.
do you want to go eat? And it dawned on me that God cared about what I wanted. And
Yes.
so I thought to myself, well, I need some time to figure that out because I'm not sure I know what I want. But here's what I do know. I do know I
Yes.
love sports. I do know I love Jesus. I do know I love coaching and leadership. I do know I love people. Is there a hybrid model where I could like mash all those things together, put it in a pot and stir it and see what happens? And so that's what I did. And then downstairs in my office here, I had all these sticky notes all over my walls, like a John Madden teleprompter. And I was drawing
Okay.
rows and squares and circles, trying to figure me out, like how to unlock
Hmm.
myself. And I didn't know it at the time, Stanley, but I actually created something in hindsight besides a monster,
Wow.
but I created something called the game plan for life. And it's how
Okay.
to live a high performance life. And so
Yes.
part of my joy over the last probably 4 or 5 years is taking people through this process of not only how to have a playbook for your mind as an athlete, but how to have a game plan for your life. And so where that crossed over was from sports to business is I have so many business leaders who are saying, what's my next thing I should be doing? Like I'm doing these,
Yes.
or maybe I can optimize it. I think I can do them better. Or what is my next thing? And so the game plan for life actually unlocks them and gives them a plan for the rest of their entire life. So I have a playbook for the mind, a game plan for life. And then I thought, well, how do I take this into the business world even more? And so I created something called One Day Elevate, where I'm taking an entire business staff or business team and I'm saying, hey, let's elevate everybody in one day. So it's called One Day Elevate. So all of those things were born out of that dark time of my life, but it shifted on what when God said to me, Gary, what do you want?
Yes. Yes. And you weren't, I don't think I would consider it not being in a dark time. I would consider it he was molding you to elevate you on the backside of the mountain.
Well
And then
said.
when it was time, let me put the light now back on Gary, and he's gonna make sure I get the glory. And my my friend, my mentor, Lord Dr. Sam Warren wrote a book called The Mindset of a Champion.
Mm,
It is a beautiful read, right? But he
mm,
took some time to study the elite, the Oprahs of the world and all of the elite people, right? And there's so many common threads in the elite, if you will, not elitist, but the elite. There's
yes.
a certain thought process, a certain mindset. And as I'm listening to you and began to articulate this to so many individuals and so many athletes, you are absolutely correct in the whole thought process. But here's the one thing I want to congratulate you publicly on this: that you didn't close yourself off.
Mm,
See, it could have been easy for you to just say, all right, okay, I'll go back to PAL. But you didn't close yourself off to that next step. You began to pour back into your cup, and then the spillage of the coffee or the water began now feeding so many other individuals around the
mm,
world.
mm.
And you have that energetic juice that nobody can take it away because you're not operating from inside your cup. You're operating from the overflow. That's a whole nother story.
Oh,
We'll get to that
well, you're
later.
living out of the overflow, right?
Yes,
So for
sir.
me, it felt like a two-step process. And this is really personal stuff for me because I don't share this story very often, but for me, it was a two-step process because
Mm.
being in the ministry, and that was part of my identity for almost 30 years. But it was almost as if I felt like I was in a coffin and I was a cat and I was trying to climb my way in this time of my life. I was like, I don't like where I am. I don't like
Yes.
what I'm going through. And then the Holy Spirit whispered to me and he said, Gary, let death do its work in you.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's
Some
good.
things gotta die in you, just like our Jesus, right? Like there
Yes.
was like unless a seed dies, it can't produce a harvest. And so
Correct.
there's some stuff that have to die in me. What do I need to not just let go? Because there's a difference between letting go and giving something to God. Because you can let go
Right.
of something and pick it back up. But when you give
Hmm.
something to God and you say, you know what, this is better in your hands, then it's those are hands, those nail scarred hands are hands that you can trust. And so I needed to like not only let go of parts of my identity, but give them to God and say, okay, I surrender to the way that you made me and how you made me. I surrender. I'm not going to let my passion drive me. I'm not going to let my ambition drive me. Because if I was to do that, I'd be like a rock star or the linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks if I could live out my own dreams, passions, and ambitions. However,
Right.
if I understood how God wanted to use me in my life and the attributes and the talents and abilities, what little I have, but if He just made me this way and I just surrendered to my personality and my identity in Him, I wonder what is possible. And so I surrendered my identity to Christ even years after being a pastor, but I just felt like I needed
Yes.
to like build an altar, let something die so that new life can begin. And it was a trust and surrender that God made me just perfect the way I am. And
That's
my
right.
identity and my personality, my DNA with the skills, attributes, gifts, and talents that I have. And if I just surrendered it all to Jesus, I wonder what I'm capable of. And so
Gary,
that began like the walk.
so I gotta ask this question, right? So let's transition into this. Because if we are who we are and we're doing all of those things, but now we have to quote unquote die. The seed has to die, right?
Mhm.
But Gary, I'm scared. I don't want to take this step. I know what's good over here. I know how to do, one, two, three.
Yeah.
But now you're telling me to die and do something I have no how? Like, where does this strength come from, Gary? Talk to the audience. Well, I
Yeah.
don't understand it. Help me.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a great analogy, and it's a great question that you're asking because the question actually comes back down to is do you trust God?
Huh?
Do you trust him? Are his nail-scarred hands worthy of your trust? And I would say an absolute 100% yes. It's the enemy who causes us to fear and have anxiety
Mm-hmm.
about what we would have to give up or what we would have to lose, when in reality, we have everything to gain. And so, is it risky? Absolutely. But here's the thing. We pray for each other for all types of things, but you know what we rarely pray for each other for is
Yeah.
courage, right?
Yes.
Courage.
Yes.
I want to pray that you will have courage, that you will persevere or endure or, attack this mountain or climb this mountain or whatever it is. Like we need to pray for each other for courage. And we don't do that enough. It's like we kind of know in many ways what we should be doing or could be doing, but we're so afraid. So why don't we pray for each other for courage? In fact, the word encourage means for me to give you the courage I have for you
That's
and
right.
to encourage, give you courage that you can do something. So we need to believe in God, we need to believe in each other, and we need to believe in ourselves.
I agree wholeheartedly because sometimes when you're talking about making that shift, and sometimes God will have you make a shift that you are absolute. There's no way in the world. I'll tell you something personal, right? God was like, basically move back to New Orleans. I was like, absolutely not. Anybody close to me know. I would say, if I'm moving back to New Orleans, God told me, and I asked him 3 times, "Are you sure?" Like I am not going back to New Orleans, right? And yet here I am. But in that to your point, it took a lot of strength. It took a lot of courage. You let a lot of things die, right? I just know. But now, when you do those, whether it's in business, talk to us about business and about leadership, about leading teams, leading an NFL huddle, right? All of the millions of dollars, or just somebody that's in sales. Like, how do I go and ask this guy that can potentially unlock millions of dollars for me, but I'm afraid. So talk to me, Gary. How you got that growth mindset
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that?
Yeah, well, this is a really interesting conversation because there's a lot to it, but let me make it really simple for you. I can't make it any more
Okay.
simple. So what I'm
Yes.
about to teach you is something that I created a few years ago, and well,
Hmm.
more like 10 years ago, and I've been
Yes.
teaching it ever since. And now that I have this embedded in my mind, this image, it's never
Hmm.
gone away. So let me teach
Okay.
you. So
Okay.
there is something called the leadership pyramid, and this is
Okay.
primarily thinking business now. But
Yes.
it's more, but let's just talk about business for a moment. So there's 5 layers to this pyramid. The bottom layer is self-leadership. It's not
All right.
it's not motivation. You don't need motivation to be a top performer. Motivation helps, but you don't need it. So think of a Navy SEAL, right? They're not always motivated to be out in the cold water holding a log above their heads, right? But they're self-led. They're showing great self-determination, self-leadership. So
Right.
motivation isn't always necessary. And here's why. Is because motivation wanes. You can be motivated one day and not motivated the next day. So
That's
motivation
correct.
isn't it. It's self-leadership. Your ability to lead yourself, even when you're not motivated, will make all the difference in the world. And if you're a business owner and you wake up some mornings at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're thinking about how you're going to handle something, your ability to lead yourself, even when you're not motivated, is what makes you a good business leader. Okay. So it's
Yes.
self-leadership. The next
Self
layer,
leadership. Mm-hmm.
self-leadership. The next layer is couple leadership. And I don't mean romantic, I just mean leading another person. So if you lead yourself well, the
Uh
next
huh.
step in the sequence is couple leadership. So you're going to be an example to somebody, you're going to be a mentor to somebody, you're going to be a coach to somebody. Now,
Yes.
if you're not leading yourself well, then don't lead somebody else because you're going to be a bad example to them. So
Say
don't,
it out loud.
yeah, that's right. Don't lead anybody else unless
Right.
you got your stuff together. You already show good self-leadership. Because let's say, for example, if I have a son or a daughter, which I do, and let's say they want you to mentor them, but I know that you're not living the life that I want my children to emulate. I don't want them following you.
No,
I
not
don't
at all.
want you to coach or mentor my son or my daughter. But if you're showing great self-leadership all day long,
That's right.
that's great.
Yes.
So that's the crucial sequence. Self-leadership, then couple leadership. The next one, if you do couple leadership well, that means if you're a good example, and if
Mm-hmm.
you're a good mentor, if you're a good coach and you see changes in that person, then you can lead at the group level. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why shouldn't you lead a group if you've never led somebody else at the couple level? Well, it's because every great group leader needs to train the next person to take over that group or go start another one because you want to grow and you want to
Yes.
keep expanding. So don't lead a group if you've never led another person, and don't lead another person if you're not showing good self-leadership. But if you do good self-leadership, if you do good couple leadership, if you do good group leadership, then you can lead an area or department. And an area or department
Ah.
is like a group of groups, right? So think of like
Mm-hmm.
a football team and you have the defensive backs and the defensive linemen,
Right.
linebackers. So you have at least 3 different groups there. So if you're let's say the captain of the defense, well, you got to know all aspects of the defense.
That's
You
right.
have to know the defensive line. You have to know the DBs. You have to know the linebackers. So, why shouldn't you lead a department or a group or an area if you've never led a group before? Well, because a department's like a group of groups, but you have to show that you can lead at the group level, at the couple level, and at the self level. Now, if you do department or area leadership really well, then you can lead an organization. And how
Mm-hmm.
many of us have seen organizations just be really poorly led? And I'll tell you why. It's because of the self leadership of the primary leader. If, let's say, that guy lies about something, or let's say that
Right.
gal is dishonest about something, or let's say whatever the case, it'll send stress fractures. The self leadership or the lack of it will send stress fractures up the entire pyramid. Like, for example, here in Seattle, we have Boeing, and they had, you know, doors flying off the plane in the middle of a flight, and then they all pass the buck. From the CEO passes the buck, the vice presidents, they pass the buck. Everybody passed. Nobody takes responsibility for anything, and then it costs the business millions, if not billions, of dollars in contracts, all
Right.
because of the poor self leadership of its primary leader. So if the CEO of Boeing said, you know what, this is my fault, I'm going to fix this, how amazing would that be? But
Right.
because they didn't show that self leadership, everybody blames everybody else. Now you have a culture of mistrust. not of accountability. And so when I think about hiring people, and just
Uh-huh.
much like you, and we say, well, you would be a really great group leader or department leader, but you don't see the self leadership or the couple leadership there, don't hire them at the group or area or department leader because they haven't shown the chops that it takes to do that. And you know what? If they don't show good self leadership, you can't be a leader in our organization.
That's absolutely the truth. That's absolutely the truth. You know, as you began to articulate this, it just made me think of so many leadership, I'll say seminars we've done, trainings or whatever you want to say. Yeah, this is absolutely spot on. Like, I hope y'all got this. Like, I hope, I really hope somebody took notes from self to couple to group to area slash department. And then,
Can I give you a wild example?
yes, go ahead.
Just really quickly, there was a young man in my life who had been in prison for many years, and
Hmm.
I was his youth pastor, believe it or not. And
Okay.
his dad was in the Italian mafia. He was tatted from neck to toe,
Hmm.
and he got out of prison. He met a girl, and he said, calls me up one day, and he says, "Hey, would you marry my fiance and I?" I'm like, "Well, congratulations. I'm glad you got engaged." And he says, "Will you marry us?" And I say, "No." I
That,
won't marry
that
you.
part.
And
Yes.
he goes, wait, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I look up to you. How could you not marry us? And so I said, hey, man, I just don't think you're showing great self-leadership. And here's what I see in your life. And I don't think you should pass that on to your wife. So the answer is no. So 20 minutes go by. I get this phone call and he says, hey, man, I'm coming to your office. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what did I start? Like, I'm in big trouble. And he's a lot bigger and tougher than I am. So he comes to my office with his fiance and they're sitting in front of me. And he goes, now, why won't you marry us? And I said, like in a really humble voice, I said, hey, man, like, I love you. I couldn't
Right.
I couldn't love you anymore. And I think, this gal, Barbara, you're wonderful. I just you guys are a beautiful couple. I said, however, I looked at the gentleman and I said, here's four areas that I see you're not leading yourself in. You have problems here. And I can't in good conscience do it before God. And I just laid it all out. So I say my thing, I stop talking, and he turns his chair from me because I'm sitting behind a desk. He turns his chair toward his fiance and he says to her, I am so sorry that I have not been the leader you have needed me to be. And
That's good.
I feel so embarrassed. And what I think you should do is move out of the apartment and I should get my life right with God and get my life right with myself. And if I get my life together, could we still get married? And she was not a believer in Christ at that moment. And
Ooh.
she said, this is what she said. She goes, I have been waiting for you to invite me to have a relationship with Jesus with you and have a home that honors God. Amazing, amazing. And
It's
so,
amazing.
so she moved
Yes.
out. We literally pray the sinner's prayer with her right in that moment. She
Uh-huh.
receives
Uh-huh.
Christ, and they have a year-long engagement where he gets his act together, and I end up officiating their marriage together a year later.
Man, that is wonderful. That is wonderful.
Self-leadership, right? Self-leadership.
When you talk about self-leadership, if you take that same scenario and I just shift it into what is business or athletics or whatever it may be, right? But it's something you said earlier that brought me back to this point. Courage. If
Mm,
you did not have the courage to stand on his word
yeah.
and to say, listen, I'm your friend for real. But
Mhm.
what I'm about to tell you is not going to taste good going down.
Yeah.
It is not going to taste good going down.
I was
But I'm your friend
terrified.
for real,
I was
right?
terrified, but I did it.
So the last few weeks I've been talking a whole bunch about different things. This is one of the things I talked about in terms of is relationships, right? I want if we were to, as men, women, right? Really hone in on self leadership and really say, you know what? We're not going to do this together. We're not going to have the wild sex. We're not going to have the wild parties or whatever it may be, right? I'm saying it could be anything, right? We're not going to do that.
Mhm.
But we got to get ourselves together. I wonder if men and women were to do that, I wonder how the world would change just based on that one line,
Wow. Wow.
self leadership.
Yeah.
We have in our business, we have this thing we say whip, like you're talking to people, is whip, work ethic, hungry, integrity, and personal power,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you look at it, and one of them is integrity,
Mhm.
do you have the integrity to do one, two, three?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have the personal power to do one, two, three? I don't care if you're in sales. I don't care if you're in athletics. I don't care if you're preaching, because you're going to be tested.
Mhm.
My mentor, and this, I stole this from him. I told him, thank you. Now I've given you credit before. Now it's mine. But we always say every vision will be tested for its authenticity.
Ah, so good. So good. Oh man, that is so good. Hey, listen, this whole thing, it starts at the bottom, which is
Yes.
self-leadership. It starts at the bottom. And here's the thing to all the young people out there, maybe you're in your 20s, maybe you're a teenager, maybe you're in your 30s and you're trying to figure life out and your job out and your vocation out. Listen, the best place to start is working on your self-leadership. Because if you self-lead, leadership will find you. You'll be offered opportunities if you practice self-leadership. But there's one more layer, bro. One more layer that I didn't tell you about, and I added it a few years ago. That is if you want to lead not just an organization, but you want to lead a movement,
Uh-oh.
then
Uh-oh.
you better bring
Uh-oh.
it. Your self-leadership, because that self-leadership never ends, and it's more important than ever at the movement position. But that self-leadership, you don't stop growing and you don't stop leading yourself. And if you want to lead a movement, dude, you got to bring it. And you have to be the kind of person that people want to follow, and you don't take that leadership hat off because you're always self-leading.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, listen, we can talk, we can talk and
We're
talk,
just
and this
skimming the
is,
surface here, right?
yeah, that's right. We just getting started. Yeah, I love how you have softly led the conversation for individuals that are listening to hear them develop from the humbleness and how we began to this is how we lead all the way up to movements. But I
Mm.
want to open the floor up for you for this. And this is the last question, and then we'll climb on out of here. So the question is this: what would you say to him or to her that's out there? What advice would you give them to start for them moving to having an elite mindset and or sustaining an elite mindset?
Yeah, there's one thing I would tell you,
Mhm.
and that is this, and just comprehend what I'm about to say. And it's
Okay.
this: you can never control an outcome, but you can always put yourself in the best position to succeed. So don't worry about where it's going to end up, what's going to happen, because you have no clue what God is up to. Don't worry about that. Just worry about putting yourself in the best position to succeed. That's all you got to worry about. That's it.
You see that name?
Deepak.
That was the some years ago. Of course, years ago. I was reading one of his books. I don't remember. And Dr. Chopra said the same thing you just said. Detach yourself from the outcome.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
doesn't that make life this amazing mystery that when you say, God, this is what I think I want, This is who you made me to be. And I
Yes.
surrender to it. I'm going to work the most I can on me being the best self leader I can be. I'm just going to
Yes.
worry about one stage at a time. And I am not going to worry about the young because I have no idea where you're going to take me. But I'm just going to put myself in the best position to succeed. So, what that means, if I was to unpack that, here's what it means. What's the best?
Mhm.
What is putting yourself in the best position to succeed? It's getting 7 hours, at least 7 hours sleep a night. It
Yes.
is going to the gym or moving or exercising. It is eating right. It is
Mhm.
taking time to pray and to meditate and read the scriptures. All those things, I mean, those are only 4 or 5 things. There's more, and we can talk. That's another exercise, another conversation.
Yeah.
But put yourself in the best position to succeed. Let's say that you are a DB, but you're playing on the wrong side of the field. That's wrong position. You got to get in
That's right.
position to make the play. And here's what I'm saying is that in life, if you say, listen, I just got to put myself in the right position to succeed, that means I might need to be around Stanley. I might need to be around a certain. Why? Because that puts me in the best position to succeed. What if there's a company I want to work for or someone I want to learn from? Well, like maybe you'll be them. Maybe you'll be a different version of them. Maybe you'll be better than them. Who really knows? It doesn't matter. But God is going to use you if you put yourself in the position to succeed. And ultimately, we want to put our palms up and say, God, whatever you have for my life, that's where I want to be. Whatever you want to do with my life, and I'm going to be the best version of me that I can be, but that puts me in the best position to succeed and let God do the rest.
Come back whenever you want. Come back whenever you want. It just where do you just just it's so much just bundled into just that.
Mhm.
It's just so much. Family, I hope y'all appreciate my good friend. I really, really do. This has been very powerful.
Hmm.
And we just starting. Y'all, we just scratching the surface. We
It's
we
true.
we'll come back, we'll do another one, but we are literally just scratching the surface. One thing, it goes back to courage in this when I say this. There are people we learn from or what have you. But to your point, I'm a servant at heart.
Mhm.
The question that I have, not for you, but the question that I have, are you willing to serve the individual that you want to glean or learn from?
Hmm.
Or you just want to go there and sit and be big man or big girl and hey, here I am, I've arrived. No, no. Let me tell you a quick story. Last week, a friend of mine and I, we were, doing whatever. When you and I were talking when I was at Southern, we were talking or whatever, and we just came back from this it's called, I think it's this little church or the world's smallest church, right? It's only like 8 square feet. Like it's literally the small. Well, it may not now, but it's literally. I think it was in a Guinness book and all of that other stuff, right? So we're curious. We are absolutely curious. So we go there and we look at this church, right? And it's like, wow. But here was the thing. And I'm gonna send you a picture of this. When I went into the church, right? When I say it's small, it's probably smaller than your prayer room, right? So when I walked in, I'm like, okay. So my friend was standing beside me. We looked and we was like, well, if she said, Stanley, if you stand on the platform and I stand right here, well, the church is full.
It's cool.
So,
That's
but here
awesome.
was the thing, right? This was the thing. I said all that to say this. But when I got in there, I saw some crumbs on the ground, little dirt, nothing, no major stuff. And I saw a broom and I started to sweep the
Hmm.
floor of the church. Now, this
Hmm.
is not about me. I'm just sharing when you talk about humbling and are you willing to serve? This
Hmm.
wasn't planned. And I never forget, my friend, she took a picture. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, Stanley, you don't understand the power. of
Mm,
what this is representing. She said, nobody told you. It's like, we found the key, we opened the door, started cleaning and
love it.
sweeping the floor. And I
Mm,
say all that to say, are you willing to serve? To
mm,
all of our leaders that are out there, all of our guests, Gary have laid it out in a simplistic form, but with power. And my question is, are you willing to serve?
mm,
As I picked up a broom and began to sweep the
mm.
Lord's house with literally a broom, not the fancy ones, not the automatic, not no, literally, you
Well,
are you
now that
willing?
you mention it, it's kind of interesting to think about the leadership pyramid because Jesus led from the bottom, right? He was
That's
servant
right.
leader. And did he have another friend like James or John? Did he lead at that level? Did he have a group of 12, a group level? Did he have 72, a little bit
That's right.
bigger? And did he lead the entire, organization? He sure did. Did he lead a movement? He absolutely did, but he
Absolutely.
led from the bottom.
Absolutely. And his integrity was impeccable.
Impeccable.
And he was a servant. He washed their feet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's climb on out of here, Gary. All right, so wait, Gary, you the first time, so you have to do this with me. You ready? Now, you sure? It's easy, but so at the beginning of the show, you heard me say my intro, right? So now I'm gonna say the intro again in my calling. Are you ready to say right after me? You got to do the calling too, all right? You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Wah,
What am I supposed to say?
wah.
Ah! I love it. I love it.
Thank you so much, Gary. Listen, well, I'll call you later, but we're going to connect. We're going to do some powerful things around this world together. We're going to be impactful and impacting people to be at an elite level in their thought process and their mindset. So, listen, brother, I can't wait to travel the world with you. I can't wait for us to get on stage and laugh and talk about our podcast. So, we're going to have a lot of fun. Blessings to you. Continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for blessing the audience. Thank you for blessing our family of Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I cannot wait. One last thing, where can anybody want to get you to come teach, coach, mentor, train? Where can they actually contact you?
Yeah, bless you. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I mean, most of my clients are on Instagram. So Elite Mindset on Instagram. I'm the guy with the blue verification dot. And then LinkedIn. People can Google my name, Gary Chupik. I have a website called Elite Mindset Nation.com because I want to create a nation of
Yeah.
high performers who are servant leaders, risk takers, courageous, who want to make an impact in their world. So, Elite Mindset Nation, and people can sign up for a free Monday morning mindset text message to help you get your mind right for the entire week. You can do that at Elite Mindset Nation right on the front page there. And I would love for yeah, anyone to sign up for that. It goes out to thousands of people every Monday morning. So I'd love for people to be part of the nation.
There you go, family. There you go. Now you know how to do it. We signing up. Sign up. Go to Elite Mindset Nation and get your free text message on Monday morning. Let's go. We're gonna do it. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. And family, we'll see you guys next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Other than that, y'all be careful, y'all be good, and we'll see you guys on the beaches of the world. God bless, and we'll see y'all next week with Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Peace. We out.